All right, so in the last video we talked about angles, adjacent angles, vertical angles. Um, I have to look here, perpendicular angles. And then we got into what angles at a line, angles around a point, complementary and supplementary angles. And honestly, supplementary angles and angles on a line are pretty much really similar, okay? Except angles on a line have to be adjacent. All right, so let's use all those to solve some problems here. In a complete sentence, describe the relevant angle relationship in the diagram. So let's start there. When I look at this, okay, I'm seeing a bunch of stuff going on here. But what I notice is that we have a straight line, okay? So I have this angle going out right here, okay? That's 22 degrees. And then remember what I told you before. Hint, hint, hint for your homework. You see this curve right here, right? That means this whole thing is x, okay? So I see this angle right here and this angle forming a straight line. So I'm going to use, for my complete sentence here, the angles, and I'm just going to say x degrees and 22 degrees are adjacent. They share a common side, right? This angle and this angle are adjacent. Supplementary. Supplementary means they add to a straight line. Okay, adjacent, supplementary. Spell it right. You could also say their angles on a line, right? But adjacent, supplementary sounds pretty good. Now it says write an equation for the angle relationship and solve for x. Okay, and we're not going to worry right now about using a protractor. Okay, I will be honest with you. You have to be really careful not to stress out, okay? Because what do? We see this little box right there. We know that's 90 degrees, okay? But we don't need that information. We need this here. We know that these two angles, this one and this one, add to 180. So that's all we're going to be concerned with. Don't worry about the extra lines. Angle that's x degrees plus the angle that's 22 degrees has to equal these two put together, a straight line, 180 degrees. Can we solve this equation? Absolutely. What are we solving for? X. What do we have to get rid of? This 22. It's plus 22, so we undo that by subtracting 22. Whatever I do to one side, I have to do the other. Okay, and I'm left with x, that adds a 0, equals 180 minus 122. I'm sorry, minus 22 is 158 degrees. Solve for x. Wrote an equation, check. Solve for x, check. Okay, this is what we're going to be doing in our homework. Now, when I give you a hint on that one, be careful of what the angle x actually is. Another hint, hint, hint here on this problem. You're going to see something like this in your homework. And it's going to seem confusing because it talks about two angles in the ratio of 2 to 3. Okay? So I'm going to tell you what to do right now. Okay? We're going to have two angles. Whatever the ratio is, you're going to times by x. Hold on. Times each by x. Times each by x, okay? So I'm going to go 2 times x and 3 times x. And I'm writing them off to the side, okay? Because we're going to figure out what those angles are right here. Find the measure for the two angles, okay? Now, I'm going to come back here. And I'm going to say, hey, they're two supplementary angles. Supplementary angles means add to 180. So I'm going to leave a space. I'm going to come over here and I'm going to, okay, 2x plus 3x equals 180. Okay, so they're a ratio of 2 to 3. So whatever that x value is, one angle is 2 times it, one angle is 3 times it. Simplify and solve. If I have 2x's plus 3x's, that's 5x's. 5 times x, we undo that by dividing. Whatever I do to one side, I do to the other. 5 divided by 5 is 1x. That's what I want. 180 divided by 5 is 36. Now, here's where you always got to make sure you're answering the question being asked. Up here, solve for x. Did that. Down here, find the measurements of the two angles. Well, one of the angles is 2 times whatever x is. So 2 times 36, which equals 72. The other angle is 3 times whatever x is. 3 times 36, which is 108. And if you look right here, 72 plus 180, they add, I'm sorry, 72 plus 108, they add to 180 degrees, okay? So two things. Use this ratio and times each of the numbers by x, and then add them together. If they're supplementary, it's 180. If they're complementary, it's 90. If they say, I don't know, 210, you just add them together to be 210. Okay, another hint for your homework. All right, a couple more examples. Think back to when we were translating sentences into math, right? So this is kind of going back to that. It says the measure of a supplement of an angle. Supplement. Add to 180. Okay, so that's in my head. Something's going to add to 180. Now, the measurement of an angle is 6 more than twice the measure of the angle. Ugh, back to this stuff. So in here, the measure of a supplement of an angle is 6 more than twice the measure of the angle. What do? Let x be the angle. Okay, I know it's been a while since we worked on this. Because then when I can say the measure in the supplement of x is 6 more than twice the measure of x. Another way to do it, we're going to say angle 1 is x, angle 2 is this. 6 more than plus, okay? We're not doing inequalities here, so we're using plus. Twice the measure of x, so 2 times x. 6 more than twice x. Now, supplement means they add to 180, so let's add these two to 180. X, or 1x, plus 6 plus 2x equals 180. Simplify and solve. If I have 1x and 2x's, that's 3x. I'm solving for x, so let's get rid of what's being added on first. It's 6, so I'm going to subtract 6. Whatever I do to one side, I have to do the other. I bring down my 3x. These add to 0, equals 174. Now this is 3 times x. I undo that dividing. So I divide both sides by 3. And we're left with x equals 58. Now, did I answer the question being asked? Find the measurement of the two angles. Nope. I found the measure of the first one. That's 58 degrees, right? But the second one is going to be 6 plus 2 times 58. Okay? So if I go 6 plus 2 times 58, that equals 122 degrees. And if I can write it correctly. So our two angles are 58 degrees and 122 degrees. And guess what? They both add to 180. All right? Let's try another one like this, okay? The measure of the complement. Ooh, complement. Add to 90 degrees. Is 32 more than 3 times the angle? Guess what? Let's do it again. Let x be the angle or the first angle or whatever, okay? So we know that our first angle is x. And then let's figure out what our second angle is going to be, because a complement is two angles that add to 90. Well, it's 32 degrees more than 3 times the angle. Well, the angle is x. So it's 32 degrees more than plus 3 times x. These two here, 1x plus 32 plus 3x, have to equal 90 degrees. If I have 1x's and 3x's, that's 4x. And then we solve this equation. Simplify and solve. We're solving for x. Let's get rid of the 32. It's a positive 32 or plus 32. So we combine that with a negative 32 or minus 32. Bring down my 4x. 32's cancel out. 90 minus 32 or plus the negative 32 is going to be 58. This is 4 times x. We undo that by dividing. Whatever I do to one side, we do the other. 4 divided by 4 is 1x. 58 divided by 4 is 14.5. Don't stress that you get a decimal right there. Did we answer the question being asked? Find the measure of the two angles. Nope. We found the measurement of one of the angles. X is equal to 14.5 degrees. And then we're going to go 32 plus 3 times whatever x is, 14.5. And that is going to equal, if you just type that into a calculator, 75.5 degrees. These two angles right here are going to add to give you 90. Okay, so we're going to use this idea of complements and supplements and the different angle relationships to use the information we're given to solve for unknown angles or unknown measures of x.